Okay. So, we're back. This is ICEY, and we had a incentive for this one too. If anybody donated for it, the narration language.
I'm checking in,
change the text
but
language.
so far it seems to be up to your choice.
Alright, I'm just going to leave it on English then, because that's how I always play the game. The English voice actor is very bad, though, so...
Bad enough
shame
to
on
be
you
good
not
again?
getting those donations in.
Oh, man.
No,
Oh, well,
just bad.
That's what you get for not donating. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody
Indeed.
will provide according to their needs, and
And so...
that's just as fine. Okay, take it away.
Alright, this is ICEY. This is a sci-fi themed side-scrolling hack and slasher that's equal parts the Stanley Parable. We have this narrator. We had an incentive for language. We're stuck with English, naughty naughty. But you can either obey the narrator and have a fairly straightforward journey towards the final boss, which we will more or less do in this run. We will disobey him a couple of times. If you don't obey him, there's all sorts of secrets to find. Music videos, demos for other games. There's just all kinds of stuff. Just really wacky, like... You know, I'd call them cutscenes if they were animated. It's just the narrator's voice during a lot of them. But it's some good stuff. And this Names of God thing is the game's true final ending. And I've considered offering this as like an incentive or whatever, but it's not really speedrunnable. It's basically an auto-scroller. Everything just happens as it happens. There's no way to make it go faster. So anyway, we just go through the areas of the game, NG+, we have all the upgrades unlocked. Time starts when I select Lost Woods, the first area, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
ICEY has left the laboratory. She understands that as long as she follows... Oh, more
So,
soldiers...
we more or less just follow the narrator's directions in this run. This run is a little bit brainless. You really just do one move the whole time. I just did it there. It's called Deadly Disc. And you can skip combat on the screen entirely. You become a disc of death, basically. Don't know much how else to describe it. It's that. You sacrifice a little bit of your HP to just absolutely wreck everything. And it also releases these crystals that you can charge to do an AoE attack, which I just did there. It wasn't quite strong enough to kill this enemy. And nor will this one be. The other thing about Deadly Disc is you ignore all incoming damage when doing it. And it sounds like it has a cost.
What? How did...
See, there's one of the only times we disobey the narrator. He wanted us to activate the light bridge, but we can just dash above the ravine. What was I saying? Yeah, Deadly Disc sounds like it has a cost because it takes some of your HP, but you're constantly healed passively. And doing the Death Blow move, the B, that also heals you as well.
Swamp rests, unmoving,
yeah, there's no line of narration addressing it here, but the narrator expects us to carefully jump through the disgusting swamp, but we can just dash above it.
In front of her waits Daha. Wait, where's the bridge? Right. Just keep following the arrow. ICEY jumps down.
So we do keep following the arrow. If this was any percent, we would not come here. This area is optional. You can simply, in the area above, dash into the area that will come after this one. And I've seen some posts on the speedrun.com forum for this game saying, oh, this game sucks now, they nerfed the dash. As far as I'm concerned, it's still pretty OP, so whatever it used to be must have been crazy. Yeah, this little, like, mosquito over here can be really annoying. These things can grab you, which you don't want. Yeah, you basically just spam Deadly Disc, and that's the run. You would ordinarily go straight forward there to fight a mini-boss to unlock an ability that we already have. So there's no need to do that. And I say ordinarily, you would do that if this wasn't NG+. You can see my health is starting to get a little low, but it's really not a concern. In before dead. No, there's really only one spot in the run where I risk death,
What
and
could
I'll certainly
cleanse this
identify it.
place?
Here's the first boss, Gorger. You just, don't want to get nommed by him, that's the only thing. Oh, and going into a boss arena heals you, so you can just spam Deadly Disc. Yeah, even if the shockwave thing hits you, it's not that bad. You just don't want to get nommed. Or, I guess, saw-bladed in phase 2, but we didn't. He's dead. Yeah, they're okay, but like I say, this voice actor is not that great.
At an unnamed town.
Yeah, this is
ICEY
the area you
searches
can reach
around
without
the
going
house
into the
for a trace
sewers.
of someone. A
You go in that
mark of
house,
some
but there's no need
ICEY
to.
decides to head deeper into town.
Oh,
Not
yeah, we're doing all
hesitating to
bosses.
follow the arrow.
We do want to follow that
ICEY
arrow.
ignores
It's
the
this arrow
warehouse
we
in the
don't follow.
distance and continues to follow the arrow.
Skip combat on the screen. And the Death Blow move releases crystals, which do an AoE. It's pretty good. Second boss, Thor. Like I say, this game is perfectly entertaining on its own merits as a side-scrolling hack and slasher. And the speedrun really doesn't even show you the true, appeal this game has, which is just going off the beaten path. Every boss has 2 HP bars except for the last boss, who has 5, and the third to last boss, which has only 1.
As ICEY defeats Thor, the gates to Ultimopolis slide open.
Yeah, you may notice my name in the upper left corner above my health bar is actually ICEY and not ICEY. That is one of the steps to obtaining the game's true ending. And if you perform that true ending, it changes into your Steam name. Yeah, you may also notice that I'm jumping before dashing. Jumping in midair is substantially faster than jumping while on the ground, or than dashing while on the ground. Jumping while on the ground, that would be quite the trick.
What ICEY must remember is that she must always follow the arrow. Otherwise, she will be lost.
Now you can see I'm really just doing Deadly Disc over and over. It makes this run really easy to pick up, and it's still a lot of fun, even though, like I say, it's kind of brainless. And you can actually make it through these gates here without defeating Thor, even though the narrator wants you to think that's not possible. It's one of the game's achievements, except the text for the achievement refers to Ultimopolis as Emberville for some reason. And another thing that's a little different in the achievements is this boss, Puck, is referred to as Parker. Don't know why. Nah, he jumps. I haven't charged enough to get any AoE there. It's alright, I'll just keep spamming my Deadly Disc. Yeah, that's all that fight is. I love how everything explodes into some pretty fireworks. Yay.
Oh? A dead end? That's not right. There shouldn't be a dead end here.
This might be loud.
There should be a...
Hopefully it's not Rip Ears loud, but it might be loud. I told them when we were checking audio before I went on that there's another one of these later. It's much longer, too. That, the other one was the only one, and I was wrong. This is the wrong way to go. No, it's not.
ICEY continues to look deep.
Nutty fudge sandwiches. There's a later area that it not only looks like this one, it's exactly the same as this one, but you don't go quite the same way. It's covered in the storyline by saying that the final enemy, the final boss, is a master of disguise and shadows.
ICEY follows the arrow. She knows that she will find Judas soon.
this guy on the end here is not my friend. I'm getting a little bit low on HP, but if I can do a death blow, that will get some back. Do that, kill these things, do another death blow, and we're fine. Yeah, the AoE with the crystals does more damage the longer time you charge it, but you have to let it go in order for it to do any damage at all. So if they hit you while you're charging it, it won't do anything. And that's the spot I didn't want to go. The spot I thought I was in a second ago. Next boss coming up. This is... oh, one more screen before the boss. Next boss is Carlos.
Icy hears a roar coming from the depths of the cave to her right.
Yeah, he's very similar to Gorger. You just don't want to get nommed. Not too bad.
Another challenge.
The combat is a little bit more challenging on your first playthrough. This is obviously NG+. I have every upgrade unlocked,
it seems
so
like
it's
it could still be
fairly
operating.
trivial.
The metro begins to move.
This is
and
by
Icy
no
is
means the
hurled
most
towards her
challenging or
destiny,
technical run there
awaiting at the
is,
clock tower.
but it's still a lot of fun. And this is ye old loading screen. We're just riding a train for about a minute, I think? 45 seconds, maybe? Coming up here is a spot where we disobey the narrator because there is an optional boss in an optional area. He's not too upset when we disobey him this time, though.
Icy leaves the metro. Following, Icy ignores the arrow and continues to the theater on her right. Oh, the Yellow King was performed here before. Awesome. Icy enters
See,
the
he's not
theater,
that upset.
thinking to herself.
Now,
that
you can go up the
perhaps
stairs
she-
there. There's a lot
Icy,
of different endings
you're
up
about
there.
to take the stage.
And I don't know if GMP is still here, but this is a sequence to make any Prince of Persia Sands of Time runner nostalgic. It's a lengthy fight on an elevator. Definitely gonna need to get a death blow in here, because, okay, we're at monk-ass health. Okay. That was a little bit legitimately scary. Okay, we're right back there. Okay. Alright, we're fine. It was really scary for a second there. Yeah, it's just the delirious sensation of speed you have in this game. Even a casual playthrough is a speed run of this game, because all you're doing is just moving at a million miles a minute. Some people say in their casual playthroughs they think Jack is the hardest boss. I don't really see it. I mentioned there was one fight that I stood a legitimate risk of dying in. This is not it, and it wasn't the elevator either. I suppose this fight is kind of hard if you don't have a maxed out Deadly Disc, but if you do, it's just that easy.
With Icy's defeat of Jack, she can rest easy as she pursues Judas. Yes, follow my words. Go left.
And you get a little tiny taste of what just playing this game rather than speedrunning it is like. As you encounter the non-standard endings this game has, there are probably about 24 of them, you're oftentimes taken back to this laboratory area. Possible rip ears warning in a second here. Something is about to happen that they told me was quite loud during audio balancing. This typing. Come back to this laboratory, things happen, and then a screen like this where somebody's typing? I guess the idea is it's the narrator? I don't know. You just have this non-standard ending and it kicks you back to the menus. There's obviously no way of skipping this. If there was, I would do it. And for the run to be valid, we have to go back only to an area we've been to in this run, which is Crossroads. Even though the next area
ICEY leaves the
after
metro,
it
following the arrow to
is
Judas's
literally
hideout,
just right here.
the clock tower.
So we have Thor and his black armored equivalents. These are now... Thor was a boss. It's now degraded as a normal enemy. The crystal AoE in. We can do death blows on both of them. That's pretty cool. 2 death blows to kill him, though, since he's so big. And this music just, you know, it reminds me of all the, like, dancing emotes that Twitch has. It's like...
ICEY enters the clock tower. A place
the Pepe
once
D
rich
and all
with
those.
ICEY,
It just makes me
to
want
her
to dance in my
surprise,
chair a little bit.
This room is much like the forest from earlier. Everything is fine as long as ICEY keeps following the arrow.
And another nice thing about running this game is there's really very little that can go catastrophically wrong. So you almost never have to reset when running this game. You can just do complete runs. And I'm someone who, you know, if a run sucks, it deserves to die.
Another familiar
So
scene.
I don't mind
ICEY
doing
easily
resets.
soars to the exit.
But I haven't run this game all that much, but I figure once I do, I will have a very high completion percentage with it. This is Idion. This is the boss that has only 1 HP bar. I have actually died to this guy. In a run. That's all the fight is. Hard fight, though. You just don't want to get hit by his lasers. That's it. And honestly, one of the ways I probably need to optimize with my running of this game is to not do so many death blows. They are powerful, but they're also slow. Skip combat on this screen.
The elevator begins to
There is
rise.
another elevator here.
ICEY is surrounded by monsters. They, however, are not her true
This
enemies.
spot here has basically the only quote-unquote skip this game has. There is something similar in a bit that's completely intended. It's just going through a door most players don't see. And I certainly didn't see it until I started learning to run the game. Okay, this is actually quite bad. I'm actually gonna die. Okay, my shield regened at least, but this is still quite bad. And I'm actually dead. Wow! That is unexpected.
So, has that ever happened before in a marathon?
That's... Well, this is This is the second time I've run this game in a marathon. So I ran it at one last week. But yeah.
Wonderful.
I
That's
suppose
our
so,
that's
then.
never happened before moment then.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what went wrong.
The elevator begins to rise, and ICEY is surrounded by monsters. They, however, are not her true enemy.
Do a death blow there to heal me. This one to release crystals. Sick on these fools. Yeah, I call this guy a mosquito. He's really annoying, just like a mosquito. Couldn't charge that one for very long because I had a laser beam pointing at me. I guess what happened last attempt was just I was getting grabbed instead of doing death blows, but I don't know why that would have happened. Anyway, this is the one tiny little skip. This is how you get off the elevator. You can get off just a tiny bit early.
ICEY understands that all she has to do is follow the arrow, and she will find Judas hiding at the top of the tower.
And honestly, even though this game is really easy, it's not just the not only the sense of speed you get from running it, but just the style, just how everything looks and feels and sounds. It just makes me love this game.
Another floor climb. ICEY is one step
That
closer
right there
to
is
her
the other
enemy.
quote-unquote skip. Most people don't see that trapdoor in the ceiling. I certainly didn't. Even my first couple of runs, I didn't go that way. But it does save a little time.
ICEY follows the arrow as it winds through the clock tower. She knows Judas's hideout is just a little higher. By following the arrow, ICEY finally finds her
Oh, and those
way
little
out of the
robot
clock
dudes
tower.
are merchants, but as I say, this is NG+, I've already bought everything, so nah. It's also why I have this much money. You get money from killing things, but also there are secret areas you can find that have money stashes in them. I wanted to have crystals for when this wave started, but that's alright.
ICEY has finally reached the top floor and is confronted by another enemy.
Now this is really interesting here. This enemy here, Trinity, you can actually spare her.
ICEY killed Trinity.
Of course, we're not.
Leaving one more body in her path of destruction.
It takes about 3
and
minutes
one
to
less
spare her,
enemy
and the
that could
narrator is
prevent her from
pissed if
finishing
you
her
do
mission.
it.
ICEY continues
But
forward.
if you spare her, the boss in the next room won't fight you. And I mentioned the fight where I could legit die, even though I already have once. This is the fight. This is by far the hardest fight in the game.
Destroyer of worlds, accomplice of Judas, and by far the most fierce enemy ICEY has ever met.
Yeah, he's not lying. It's a good first phase. That didn't hit him. The crystals didn't hit him. I don't know why they sometimes do and sometimes don't. shield back at least. Am I dead? Yes. Damn it. Okay, this is probably going overestimate.
ICEY killed Trinity, leaving one more body in her path of destruction, and one less enemy that could prevent her from finishing her mission.
I say there's little
ICEY
in this game that can go
continues forward.
catastrophically wrong. This is why I didn't say there's nothing, because there is still a few things.
Dahao, the destroyer of worlds, accomplice of Judas, and by far the most fierce enemy ICEY has ever met.
Ah.
Good luck, ICEY.
What would really help is if this crystal attack hits him, and it still didn't. That's not cool. Yeah, it's perhaps no coincidence that he's the toughest enemy we face, and he can do Deadly Disc as well. Okay, got him that time. Yay, first try, Puggers.
ICEY has finally made it here. It's time to end this. Judas awaits. That wicked devil, the bringer of the
And this
apocalypse.
question back here, are you
ICEY
ready?
is ready to complete
That's actually
her
one of the
final mission.
things you can do to disobey
It
the
is time
narrator,
for
and
ICEY to begin
it's
her
one of the
final battle.
more hidden achievements is if you repeatedly say no to that. It again really gets him mad. Is it the final boss, Judas? Time will be on the final hit against him. He has 5 HP bars, but he's a bit of a pushover. Just get in there and do the thing. Like, there's already 1. 2. 3. 4, get ready on time. Time. Narrator is pig. That to me says you've played this game before. I don't think we made it underestimate that.
The final time was a
What was the final time?
25:53.
She accomplished her goal.
So,
Dawn
in
begins to
the
break
margin of
Okay.
error,
Only
definitely.
about a minute
To
over.
Ultimopolis, she says,
All right. Thank you for
are
that one.
finally free.
Oh yeah, and Maroon confirmed
And
has
what
played the
about
game
ICEY?
before.
She will wait for her next inspiration.
Yeah, because if you
A
say
journey
no to
just
the
like
that "Are
this
you
one.
ready?" choice repeatedly,
She will
the narrator
surely
will
appear
eventually put
before
2
you
signs
once
up at,
more.
in the back that both just say
ICEY's
"Icy is a
mission
pig."
is far from over.
And at that point, you have to do nothing for like 5 minutes to get past it. And these are fake credits. You may notice that like music and sound, random music that Leroy found online. Icy is in the credits. The bosses are in the credits. Dahal, Gorger, Thor. You see, it says Parker. He's Puck in the game.
And some more glitches. All right,
So anyway, we'll just alt F4 to that.
which is great. Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, everyone. Assassin's Creed Syndicate World War I coming up. This was a great show from Emeraldaly, and they'll keep it going. Afterwards, Ice Age Scrat's Nutty Adventure 100%, as you can see, run by Fingerquick. Afterwards, Pokemon Red and Blue, 80% glitchless, run by Conception and 2. And you can name the rival and you can name the flyer. Those are the incentives for that one. And that'll cover the next wonderful 4 hours of quality enjoyment. This is NASA Marathon 2020 supporting Save the Children. So any and all donations you put in go towards them. Bits, subscriptions, and your cheers and love will also be passed on one-to-one. We love having you here, we love doing this, and we'll be back in just a little bit with Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
I need to be bigger, 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 like a grown-up, so I could be president. If I was president, I would tell them to give me a whole tub of chocolate. I would go in space if I was a president.
I'll tell the people to stop chopping down trees every day. Just cut about 20 a day. Probably 20 a day, not like 50 each day, just 20.
If I was president, I'll be nice to people and make sure they're not mad. Bad. Or mad. I would make a new law and say, do not smoke around children. Do not eat and drive. Do not drink and drive. The president should help kids a lot. Because if we didn't have kids, then why would the earth be toys? I approve this message. I approve this message.